Hi everyone, welcome to our 40,000 kilometer adventure across North America with my wife Sonia and our baby girl Kyomi. This journey was more than a road trip. It was a mix of breathtaking landscapes, unexpected challenges and unforgettable family moments. From snowy Newfoundland to the deserts of the southwest US, we explored, we learned and we grew together. Join me as I share the highlights, the struggles, the memories that made this trip truly life-changing. Let's get started. The day of departure was crazy. We packed everything, ready to go, feeling both excited and stressed. My usual learn-as-you-go approach was practical, but in this case was a bit daunting, as I knew almost nothing about RVs, travel trailers or trucks. Somehow, I had made this work. I called my friend Neil for help, and soon we were off. The start felt a bit chaotic. Backing up a 50-foot rig in a parking lot seemed like a mission impossible. Driving through windy Newfoundland with strong gusts slamming the side of a trailer was nerve-wracking. And you could feel it at the steering wheel. But as with anything, we adapted. And over time, it became easier. Since campsites were closed in early April, we stayed at hotels with spacious parking lots. While crossing Newfoundland, we stopped at Grossmore National Park, a special place for us. Even though it still felt like winter, it was incredible. The next day, we caught the ferry in Port aux Basques, and by morning, we were driving through mainland North America. The weather wasn't on our side, so we rushed through the Atlantic provinces, making a few detours, like stopping to visit some good friends. Before we knew it, we were at the US-Canada border. I have to admit, my first interaction with a US border officer wasn't great. He was rude. Thankfully, other officers we met later were cool. Soon, we were driving through the US. My first impression was, wow, this feels a lot like Canada. The houses were similar and the people we met were just as friendly as Canadians. That said, my opinion might have been different if it were based on a one night in a motel in Massachusetts. It was the last day before campsites opened, so we found a motel with a large parking lot. By the time we arrived, it was late. Too late to search for another option. The area felt sketchy, and people around didn't exactly inspire confidence. It was a stressful night, and I was even wondering if my truck and a trailer will still be there in the morning. Thankfully, we made it through, and from then on we decided to only stay at national or state parks, campsites, or staying with friendly fellow RV or van lifers. Life at campsites was pretty cool. That is, once I learned how to connect and use everything in RV. Learn as you go, right? We discovered a charming town in Connecticut called Mystic, and even the weather felt mystical. After a great time there, we headed towards New York. Driving around New York City was pure chaos, with insane traffic. To make it worse, Google Maps directed us onto roads with low bridges, leaving me very stressed about losing our RV roof. Ah, the joys of RV life. Despite that, our visit to New York City was amazing. Spring was in full swing, the weather was perfect, and the city felt cleaner and nicer than when I last visited. We spent some quality time in Manhattan and Central Park before hitting the road again. Washington was great, and luckily, no one was storming the Capitol during our visit. We spent some time exploring the city before heading to Maryland, where we spent a couple of days in its beautiful parks. I love running, so I made it a goal to do a trail run in each state we visited. Running through a forest in Maryland felt incredible. The flora and fauna were so vibrant. At one point, a bird as big as me flew just few meters above my head, scaring the life out of me. Oh, I almost forgot to mention about my brilliant idea to fill up at the local Costco gas station when driving through one of the eastern states. It was an insanely busy gas station with just a tiny exit. Definitely not designed for a 50-foot truck and trailer. I ended up blocking the entire gas station for what felt like eternity. Eventually, I managed to squeeze out, but not without earning a small dent in my side bumper. This was definitely one of the low points of the trip. On a brighter side, the first truly magical moment came when we reached North Carolina. We stayed at a local vineyard, the weather was perfect, the surroundings were stunning, and the sunset was absolutely majestic. It felt like one of those rare, perfect moments in life. From that evening on, the next several months of this adventure felt like living a dream come true. Traveling through South Carolina and Georgia was awesome. We met some awesome people and stayed in some cool spots, like this one on a farm. I even almost hit a massive snake when riding a bike through a local state park. But the true milestone came when we hit Florida. I told myself that if only I'll be able to take us through entire East Coast from wintry Newfoundland to summery Florida, I will feel like this trip was a success. And we did. So when we drove to Daytona Beach and walked on a beach with my 3-month-old baby girl, it felt ecstatic. And that wasn't even the best of Florida. It got even better at places like Blue Springs or Siesta Keys. We felt amazing staying in a place called Paradise, where a woman called Monica raised bears and treated them like pets. Yes, you heard that right, bears. Our 2 weeks in Florida were incredible, but we still had hundreds of other places to visit, so we had to get going. A few days later, we found ourselves in New Orleans, a truly unique city with an incredible culture. We loved exploring the vibrant streets, but for me, the highlight was discovering a hidden gem while running through a local forest. The scenery was breathtaking. Where else would you find something like that? Next up was Texas, where we met some great people and explored interesting places. Unfortunately, what stood out most were encounters with large aggressive dogs that chased both me and Sonia on our separate walks and runs. Talk about an adrenaline rush. From there, we moved to Oklahoma, the first state to give us that funky Wild West vibe. During our Grand Mesa hike, we were even greeted by tumbleweed rolling across the trail. A Wild West feel at its best. Crossing the Great Plains, we were welcomed by the majestic Rockies in Colorado, easily one of the best states in the US. Colorado Springs had such a great vibe, and the whole area was stunning. My only regret? Not staying longer. Driving through the vast place of Wyoming, we had a close call on the highway when a reckless driver decided to pass at the bottom of a hill. Of course, halfway through, a truck appeared from the opposite direction. With no room for 3 vehicles, I had to swerve off the road onto the rocks to avoid potentially fatal collision. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but this was an extremely stressful moment. Luckily, we managed to unwind in Wyoming's breathtaking national parks. Grand Teton and Yellowstone are definitely 2 of the top 10 places on our trip. And no, Yellowstone is not overrated. If you plan it right and avoid the crowds, it's like stepping onto another planet, with stunning wildlife encounters to top it off. Truly unforgettable. We kept the adventure going in Glacier National Park in Montana, hiking through some of the most stunning landscapes I've ever seen. Walking into Avalanche Lake, surrounded by towering mountains, with our baby girl in my arms, was more than awe-inspiring. It was one of the most unforgettable moments of my life. After that, we crossed back into Canada and spent a few relaxing days in Calgary before heading back to the Canadian Rockies, Banff, Jasper and Yoho. While on some days air was filled with wildfire smoke that made it hard to enjoy the outdoors, we still had an incredible time exploring the majestic mountains, glaciers and lakes. As always, we loved Jasper, one of our favorite spots in the Rockies, and it was heartbreaking to see how recent wildfires had impacted the town. 2 weeks later, we made our way towards Vancouver. Along the way, I was amazed to discover that British Columbia has deserts. We spent a couple days in Vancouver, which is such a vibrant city to explore, and then we continued south into the US. We spent 2 incredible weeks in Washington state, and it felt like a true blessing. Our daily walks through the lush rainforests of Olympic National Park and hikes on trails like Storm King Mountain made us feel deeply present and grateful for this special time in our lives. One highlight for me was a trail run up Mount Rainier, an experience I will never forget. It's amazing how quickly you can go from summer to winter just by running uphill. Next up, Oregon. Running along the caldera rim of Crater Lake at 8,000 feet of altitude was another remarkable experience. The views were truly breathtaking, and it felt like one of the wonders of the world. Oregon is undeniably beautiful, though I have to admit, its cities didn't always feel safe. We made it to the iconic state of California in mid-July, and it was amusing how drastically the temperatures varied. From the chilly breeze of San Francisco to the sweltering heat inland, where temperatures soared well above 100 Fahrenheit, and our AC struggled to keep up. California truly offered a mix of extremes. This state has something for everyone, and we love our time in LA, San Francisco, and the awe-inspiring forests of ancient sequoias. Some of the best trail runs of my life happened here. Running up the cliffs of Yosemite National Park and tackling a midday, midsummer run in Death Valley's Badwater Basin. Both were intense experiences, and I'm especially grateful to Sonia for supporting me in Death Valley. It could have ended badly without her. Next up was Las Vegas, and it was just as wild and fun as you would imagine. While picking up our car from a casino parking lot, we discovered someone has driven a screw into one of our tires. No idea why, Maybe they weren't a fan of our Canadian license. Maybe they really hate Justin Bieber. Goodbye Nevada, welcome Utah, one of the best states on our trip. It's absolutely unique and the weather was perfect. I really wish we could have stayed longer in Zion National Park, as it was truly amazing. Sadly, I was knocked down with COVID for several days, so Sonia did most of exploring. Places like Animal Sanctuary and multiple stunning parks. We definitely want to come back to Utah in the future. A few days later, the tables turned. Sonia caught COVID just as I started feeling better. This time, I did some solo exploring of Arizona, and the Grand Canyon was a dream come true for me. I even did a rim to river to rim trail run, and it was both extreme and absolutely breathtaking. Words can't fully capture the awe of the Grand Canyon. It's the kind of place that makes you feel truly alive. Other spots in Arizona were amazing too, but the intense heat, often soaring above 110 Fahrenheit, was overwhelming. Our AC struggled, so there were nights we had to stay in hotels just to cool down. Then came New Mexico, a total surprise for me. I really didn't know much about it beforehand, but I quickly fell in love. Places like White Sands National Park or Santa Fe were unforgettable highlights of our trip. We continued our trip north and returned to wonderful Colorado to explore Rocky Mountain National Park. On our way, Google Maps messed up and we ended up in a dead-end road in mountains. I had to reverse a 50-foot rig through a narrow mountain road for 1 kilometer. That was fun. Anyway, the Rockies were amazing, and we even get to attend a cool concert in Red Rocks Amphitheater. Next up was Nebraska, and let me tell you, I almost got PTSD from a swarm of bloodthirsty mosquitoes that attacked me when I tried to check the chimney rock. I had to sprint back to safety to escape those relentless little vampires. On the bright side, we visited Carhenge, and it was, hands down, one of the funniest and coolest places on our trip. It's really Stonehenge, but made out of cars. This is absolutely hilarious and so unique. After that, South Dakota. I didn't know much about it and had low expectations, but it turned out to be a hidden gem. We absolutely loved exploring the Badlands, Black Hills, and of course, Mount Rushmore. As we continued east, we soaked in the peacefulness and serenity of Iowa, and even checked out some cool caves, and then spent some quality time around the Great Lakes and explored Chicago. It was my first visit, and I absolutely loved the city. A few hours after leaving Chicago, disaster struck. Driving down the highway, we hit a series of potholes. Moments later, a driver signaled to me to check the back. To my horror, thick smoke was coming out of my trailer. It looked like it was on fire. When I pulled over, I found out that few leaf springs snapped, causing the trailer's weight to collapse onto the tires on one side. This looked catastrophic, like the trip was over. But here's the thing. Almost anything can be fixed. A mobile mechanic came within few hours and replaced everything. And we were back on the road the same day. The lesson? Never give up. The closer we get to the East Coast, the more familiar everything felt. We enjoyed a wonderful early fall in Pennsylvania and decided to revisit New York City, as we had such fond memories from earlier in the trip. This time, the city had a fantastic late summer, early fall vibe, and we loved it all over again. Afterwards, we explored the beautiful New England states, ventured into Quebec, and finally reached Toronto, where we spent a few days. By this point, we really missed our social life, so we decided to leave trailer behind and fly to Europe to reconnect with family and friends. As a surprising twist, I even ended up in Egypt. When we returned to Canada, we had one last journey to make, from Toronto to St. John's. It was a snowy, several-day drive, which felt perfectly fitting for Canada. Earlier, I had wondered how I would feel returning to Newfoundland after all this time. To my surprise, I felt mostly relieved, but also accomplished and happy. No regrets of coming back or dreams of living elsewhere. This trip actually made me appreciate my home even more. Looking back, this was an incredible adventure, full of breathtaking experiences, but also challenging moments. At times, it felt like riding a roller coaster with its ups and downs. It took a lot of work and effort to make it happen, and we feel truly blessed to have experienced it. In the end, the greatest takeaway wasn't just the stunning places we visited, but the life lessons we gained. This trip reshaped the way we see the world and live our lives. To learn more about those life-changing insights, check out the next video. See you soon!